And we are here at the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame Induction Dinner with 2008 Philadelphia Phillies World Series champion Jamie Moyer. Jamie, it is great to have you on and thrilled to have you back in the city of brotherly love, as it should be. You getting inducted into the Hall of Fame this evening.
Well, it's great to be back, and it's a huge honor to be here tonight, being inducted into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. It's, it's funny, I mean, this whole situation, because a lot of the people that I feel like I'm being inducted with tonight, I grew up watching as a teenager. So it's kind of a thrill for me to be here.
Yeah, well, let's take it back to a big part of the reason that you're here. One, being a Philadelphia native, and two, being part of that 2008 Philadelphia Phillies team. Part of one of the crazier games in Philadelphia sports history, of course, the deciding game over 2 nights against Tampa Bay Rays. Take us back to that experience, to that time frame.
Well, I mean, as we all, everybody has their own story, right? And that's what makes it so unique and so fun. But from the player's perspective, or from my perspective as a player, the weather wasn't cooperating overly well with us the whole time basically we played here. But that's part of it. That's part of the World Series when you're playing outdoors in the fall, right? You never know what can happen. And, it was, the whole experience was a positive, great experience, obviously, because we won. But, the games that we played here, were affected by weather. We either started late or games were interrupted by weather, and we finished the next day. So, I mean, it was different, but I don't think there was any point dealing with the weather that it affected us as a team. As a unit of 25 players and a coaching staff. I think we felt like we were going to win, just a matter of how and when.
Right. And you did win. And
we did.
You were a big part of that.
Yep.
What was it like? I mean, that was obviously one of the greatest teams in Philadelphia history, and being part of a tremendous pitching rotation that continued to evolve over the next few years and really built this team into a consistent contender deep into the playoffs. What was that like, being part of that initial foundation?
Well, when I came over here in August of 2006, I think that nucleus had been created. With that being said, Pat Gillick, kind of, I don't want to say manipulated, but tinkered with adding and subtracting players, and brought in some key players. And, I think as a pitching staff, we were developing, we were maturing, we were growing as individuals and as a staff. And, again, we brought in guys like Scott Air, J.C. Romero, Brad Lidge, which our bullpen, and if you watch any of the World Series this year, you see how important a bullpen is. But, we did it as a unit. As starting pitchers, I think everybody contributed. And as a bullpen, we did a fantastic job from the pitching side of it. And offensively, I think it speaks for itself. We had some big horses on this team. We had some team speed. We had a lot of guys that could hit the ball over the fence. And we played pretty good and pretty consistent defense. So, I mean, you look at baseball and you look at those things that I've just mentioned, to be a winner, to be consistent, you have to have those things on a consistent basis.
And you see that now across baseball with some of the teams that had tremendous years, Boston Red Sox winning the World Series. They're treating it a little bit differently, though, and there's a new emphasis placed on the bullpen, and the starter going 5 innings in the playoffs is a little bit of a deep outing. As a former pitcher and a guy who played in the World Series and throughout the playoffs and had those key pressure moments after a full 200-plus inning season, what do you think about this change in philosophy across baseball?
Well, I mean, it probably doesn't really matter what I think, but I think in the long run it's going to change the game dramatically. You watch some of these baseball talk shows, they talk about, what do they call it, the rover. I think they're talking about a rover instead of a starting pitcher. I mean, to me, they're messing with the history of the game, and I get it. The game evolves, it continues to move forward, and it continues to change. But we're seeing major changes, I think, right before our eyes. And the World Series was exciting, but again, it's not baseball as we know it. So again, I think I hope the fan base doesn't change as a whole, but again, they're trying to reach out to the younger generation. So this may be the way to go. It's just I'm not necessarily for it, but I'm not totally against it. I think it will have to kind of grow. For me, it'll have to grow on me. I just think, there's a big value. Look, the way I look from the pitching side, there's approximately 1,600 innings that need to be picked up by a pitching staff per year on every team. Who's going to pick up those innings? And if you have a solid, consistent starting rotation, and you're going to give those guys 32 to 33 starts, you're hoping to get 180 to 220, 230 innings out of those 5 guys. So on average, if you got 200 innings, there's 1,000 innings. Now your bullpen only has to pitch, and I say only, it's a lot, but approximately 600 innings. And to me, keeping the bullpen as fresh as possible is really, really important, because you rely in the latter part of the game for the bullpen to get big time outs.
Right.
So if they can stay fresh, I think they have a better opportunity of being more consistent and staying healthier. But if they're being used like dish rags, it's just going to shorten careers, and you're going to see guys moving in and moving out. And again, baseball is kind of, everything's power related. So, it's I don't want to say it's as much, when I think of a pitcher, and I'm not basing it just on myself, I'm basing it on what I've seen throughout my career. Pitchers who pitched to location, they were able to change speeds, they were able to elevate, they were able to throw chase pitches. Now it's just rear back and throw it as hard as you can for as long as you can. And when we think you're done, or when the stats say you're done, you're out of the game, and the next guy's going to come in.
Sure, right.
So that's the difference in the game, and that's where it's going. And I think the playoffs this year were quite evident of that.
Sure, and I think another byproduct of that is these guys trying to rear up and throw very, very hard, and you're seeing more and more of an issue with elbow tendonitis, and gets to the decision of having to have Tommy John surgery with a UCL.
Look at it this way. I don't care what activity you do. If you're asking 100% out of yourself consistently, our bodies are not made to do that, right? So the longevity is going to become shorter, in my opinion, and I think that's become quite evident. You're seeing just as many injuries, and with these injuries comes rehab, and some guys come back throwing better, harder, and some guys don't make it back. So I'd rather have a healthy player and have a longer career and teach him how to stay healthy, or set him up to stay healthy, and have a longer career. And now you're going to get somebody that's getting more repetition, and then in the long run should become a more consistent player with that repetition.
Yeah, no, it's great thoughts, and very, very well thought out position there. Now, one more for you, and I know that this is a night of celebration, obviously, for your time as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies, but there was, of course, a teammate of yours in the Phillies family, Roy Halladay, that unfortunately passed away, and just wanted to get your thoughts and something that you had to say about that.
Yeah, well, I'll first speak to Roy. Roy was a great teammate. I looked at him as a friend. The accident was very, very unfortunate and very sad for Roy, very sad for his family, very sad for the baseball world. I know Roy was doing some work with the Phillies at the time, and I'm sure making a big difference in working with the minor league pitchers. So Roy's absence, I'm sure is something that everybody feels. And like you said, he was just a special person and a special teammate, and I really enjoyed the time that I had with Roy on and off the field.
Jamie, good thoughts. Appreciate the sentiments. Thank you so much for taking some time, and congratulations once again on your induction.
Thank you very much.